Hello everyone, and welcome to a new video. Today I am super excited to talk about something. That's why I have two hands free, because I need to show you my goddamn excitement. And that's because I played a demo just recently, the demo of Oninaki. In case you didn't know, Oninaki is a game that's coming up the 22nd of August and is made by the Tokyo RPG Factory, published by Square Enix. Now, why does this game interest me? Well, that's because actually, a couple of reasons. Easily the first one is the price, actually. That's what caught my eye first, because usually when you see a game published by Square Enix, you expect a AAA title that is 60 bucks, and that's it, you know, like a Final Fantasy or something like that. I mean, Octopath Traveler. Things like that, but the games by Tokyo RPG Factory actually never are a full 60 bucks.
So, real quickly, I want to address something because I said this kind of wrong. Um, it's not 100% the case that they don't publish 60 bucks games because, for example, right here we have I Am Setsuna. So if you go to the PlayStation Store, for example, right here you see that it's 40 bucks. So in that case, I was right. But what I didn't count for this is the physical edition of I Am Setsuna, which is actually 60 bucks in a lot of places. So technically they don't because the game itself is still, in this case, 40 bucks. But I guess the physical edition is 60, so I was a little wrong. So I just wanted to address that real fast.
And this one's actually 50. Even if you pre-order it right now, it's actually 45. So that caught my eye because that is a pretty odd price, especially for a AAA publisher to be putting out. So is this a big budget indie style game? Or what could this be? Well, today I'm going to tell you my first impressions of playing the demo and if you should pick up this game. So, right off the bat, I'm going to tell you something about the story of this game because it's pretty interesting. It's actually about a world where people, when they die, they reincarnate. So basically what happens is their soul leaves their body and they cross over to the other side. But there's one downside to it, because you're not allowed to mourn about these people. You know what happens when you mourn about people in this world? Well, their souls get lost. Their souls get stuck in between the world of the living and the world of the dead. Now that's obviously a big problem, and our main protagonist here, Kagachi, actually learns this very quickly, because at a young age he loses both his parents. And that's where the trouble comes in, because he wants to mourn about them, but everybody keeps telling him not to, and he doesn't quite understand why. So, in all the confusion, he decides to go for a walk, and he meets this little girl, and this little girl is kind of like a ghostly type, and she asks him, "Why are you not whole?" Now, this is a strange question that doesn't really get answered in a demo. I expect it to get answered in the full game, because they do keep coming back to this question. Basically, then we get a time skip. Kagachi is suddenly over 20 years old. He is still with his best friend Mayura, that was there too when his parents died, and they became watchers. Now, what is a watcher? A watcher is actually a person who has the ability to travel between the world of the living and the between, I guess, the world between the living and the dead, the place where these souls get stuck. Now, what do? They help the people who are stuck between these worlds and send them off to the beyond so they can be reincarnated. So now that we have the most basic of the stuff down, we're gonna get into the meat of the game. What is the game actually about? I mean, the story, that's fine. You can experience that for yourself. I'm not gonna spoil that. But I am going to tell you a little bit about the game itself, because there's a lot of things to go over and a lot of things to explain. Because it's an action RPG, so where's the action? Well, if you're a watcher, you're going to get into a little bit of trouble, because in this in-between world there's a lot of monsters or demons, I guess, and you're going to have to fight them. Now, how do you do that? Well, both Kagachi and Mayura and any other watcher actually has a daemon or demon. I'm not sure how they pronounce it. I don't know. I'm just going to call it daemon because that sounds funny. They have a daemon, and they are basically a weapon and a soul combined. It's a lost soul that's been lost for so long that they can't pass over, and they basically weaponize themselves. I believe it's something like that. But basically, you're gonna start off with one daemon, and you'll be fighting with that daemon for a little while until you get to upgrade her a little bit, because she is a sword daemon, I guess, and you get sword stones, and these stones you can actually put into this really cool skill tree that you have, where you can just unlock a bunch of new abilities, not only new attacks for your daemon to use, but also new passive abilities that make this daemon more fun and more exciting to play as. Now these abilities, these skills, don't actually use any MP or AP or magic points or whatever. They are just on a cooldown. So basically this is what switches up the gameplay, because you'll get to have 4 abilities at once for one daemon, and actually you will be unlocking new daemons as you go. You can equip a party of 4 of them and switch between these daemons during your combat. So basically you will have 16 different abilities at your disposal at all times. That switches up the gameplay so incredibly much that you will not even need that square button anymore if you get good at switching between your daemons. So basically, as a watcher, like I said, you have the ability to switch between the world of the living and the in-between, like I said. Well, this is actually something that gets translated into the gameplay fairly well and also fairly not so well, depending on how you feel about this stuff. Because it is cool, you do get to switch between these worlds, and you do actually meet the ghosts, basically, in this between world. And that's all cool and dandy. But it also makes the game kind of artificially longer, since I was playing on the hardest difficulty, because they give you better loot, they say. That's cool, but you're going to have to grind out these levels a little bit. And basically what's going to happen, you have a little mini-map, and you're going to go to that other world, this in-between world, and you're going to walk around and explore and beat all these enemies and monsters or whatever. And then you can switch back to the normal world, and you have to explore that area again, basically. All of the enemies will be different, but that area of the map will not be filled out anymore. So you're basically exploring the same map twice. That's something that that I'm just kind of struggling with. I'm not sure if that's really that great of a thing. Now, one other mechanic that the daemons have is actually a daemon rank. Basically, when you give a daemon a certain amount of upgrades with your stones, you will actually get them up to a new daemon rank, which basically just makes them stronger. It's like a level up. It doesn't really do much, I think, but it's a nice little addition of, like, upgrading, I guess, so it's pretty good. Now, real quick, before we move on, I do want to talk about something else that kind of pushed me in the wrong way, basically. It's the bosses. Now, the bosses are very cool. They are very interesting enemies, monsters. They look very cool, they're very big, they're very spectacular, but also very difficult. And the first boss especially feels unfair kind of difficult. Because there's this one attack that he has where he shoots these rockets at you, and I feel like there is almost no way to actually dodging these. It feels really unfair and unnecessarily difficult. So it makes a really thick line between the normal gameplay and the bosses, because the normal gameplay really is quite easy, actually. The normal enemies really aren't that difficult. Even on the highest difficulty, they are not that difficult. They are just filler. But then you get to the boss, and the difficulty just skyrockets. And it doesn't make any sense. I'd rather have something like a Dark Souls, kind of, where you have difficult enemies and then more difficult bosses, but these bosses are actually fair. They damage you a lot, but you also hit decent damage to them, and every attack feels at least as if you can dodge it or at least anticipate it. With this boss, it's different, and that is something that I definitely dislike. Lastly, I want to talk about 2 more things, one of them being the graphics and one of them being the music. So I'm going to start off with the graphics. The graphics are... I don't know. The graphics are weird, that's for sure. I do really like the art style, it looks very anime-like. I really like the character designs. They have a lot of detail into them. Even in the menus, if you scroll through the menu, you get a little art piece representing the character instead of just a 3D model, so they did put a lot of effort into it. But the graphics in general are quite polygonal. It looks almost like basically a 3DS game that has like maybe double the polygons, and then you get what this is. But it does look very pretty, so I can tell they put effort into it. I guess they just didn't have the budget. Then lastly, we have the music. The music is incredible in this game. It's great. I hadn't even noticed that much up until this point because I was actually playing without headphones and I was doing other stuff in between. But when I actually sat down, put on headphones, and started playing the game, really dedicated to it, I found myself just nodding my head through to this really cool beat. Basically, I have a little footage right here of a mini boss that I was fighting, and I just decided to circle around it for a little bit just so you guys can hear this awesome music because it is actually so good. So, all in all, what do I think about Oninaki? For the price, I think it's a little bit expensive. It really comes down to what kind of content is actually in the game. I see a lot of customization, I see some good skill trees, I hope there will be a lot of daemons that you can get, and a really kind of dark story that there is. So there's a lot there. I just hope that they can really bring enough content to validate a price of $50 because I have seen indie games that look better and play better than this one. So I really hope that eventually, as you get further into the game, it really gives you a lot of stuff, just content or things to do. And I do have trust in Square Enix to publish something that is of quality, but I do also know that Square Enix likes money, just like every big publisher does. So I don't know if this is going to be validating a $50 price tag. We'll have to see when the game comes out. I don't know if I'll be playing it. Honestly, I have a lot of other stuff that I want to play. I do want to play this one, but it's kind of a little bit lower on my list right now. But all in all, I do think it is very enjoyable. I had a great time with the demo, so if I ever get the chance, I will check it out. It's coming out August 22nd. Right now it's $45. If you pre-order it, it's gonna be $50 on release. Now, thank you all so much for watching. I decided to do this video a little bit differently. I have a little bit of a different setup. Sorry for the light over there. I try to make it the best as possible. It's very difficult. I decided I wanted both of my hands in frame, even though they're kind of out of frame, but I'm learning as I go, and I feel like this video definitely is a little bit more consistent than the previous one. So I really hope that anybody who sees this thinks this deserves a like. I'm really trying my best, and I'm learning as I go. I hope anybody here will join me in my journey to learning how this YouTube stuff works. And that's it. Goodbye.